So I'm so excited to have a guest on our YouTube channel this week. So excited for Rebekah to be here to talk all about multisensory supports, multisensory instruction, and all of those things, because this is something that I'm super passionate about, because not everybody learns the same way. We have ways that we can show our students different things, and I would love for Rebekah to go ahead and introduce herself for you if you don't know who she is.
Hi, yes, I am Rebecca Poe. First off, thank you so much for having me on here. I am so excited to be with you tonight or whenever, whenever everybody's watching this. Um, my name is Rebecca Poe. Like I mentioned, I am formerly Lessons and Lattes on social media. I changed my handle to Rebecca Poe Teaching in October of 2022
Mhm.
because no one really knew my name. It was, I'd go to conferences and people would be like, "Oh, you're Lessons and Lattes." And I was like, "Well, I'm actually Rebecca." So now I changed my handle so people, can put a face with a name rather than just a social media handle. I have taught every grade except for fifth grade when it comes to special education. Nothing against fifth graders. That was just never something I was blessed with the opportunity to do. Most recently, I have spent time in the elementary classrooms. Early elementary is kind of my jam. I love those little kids. They're so fun. But yeah, so I stepped out of the classroom. In November, I think, the beginning of November. And now I'm working for a special education curriculum company that specializes in like the transition and life skills areas.
Yeah, that's so awesome that you've kind of made it full circle and, like you said, taught all the grades. I didn't know that. So that's really a cool experience and a cool resume to be like, I've taught everything. Like
I've taught everything.
throw it all at me. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. What energizes you about special education or just education in general?
Just the ability to go into a classroom and look at a child and know that I've made a difference in the life of that child, whether it's, helping them out academically, behaviorally, socially, or just, providing that sense of love and belonging that every child needs and deserves. Having the opportunity to have done that for as many students as I've had the capacity to teach
Mhm.
has really kept me going. And it was very difficult, with COVID and the pandemic and then teaching and trying to get back into the groove of it.
Mhm.
Things still haven't quite been the same, and I know a lot of teachers are really struggling, and I was definitely one of those that was struggling as well. So I just try to find that one reason why every day, and sometimes it was a child who had been really struggling with a concept who suddenly you could see that light bulb go off, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden it was like a whole new world opened up. Those little moments
Mhm.
gave me the energy to keep going in the classroom.
Yeah, honestly, those are the moments that have to keep us going. Like you said, find those mini moments of positivity to keep us continuing to come back, to give it our all and pour into these students.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if somebody is looking for next school year some new ideas and has heard now of multisensory supports, can you explain a little bit more about what that is and how that might look?
Absolutely. So, to kind of explain what it is, I'm going to start by saying what it is not.
Okay.
So, multisensory instruction is not really learning styles. Like, back in college, and for
Hmm.
me, I'm not, I don't know how old everybody else is, but I'm quite ancient. And so, when I was in college, they were pushing, teach to the students' learning style. So
Hmm.
that meant you were having to create one lesson for your auditory learners, one lesson for your hands on learners, one lesson
Yeah.
for your visual learners. With multisensory instruction, you're activating all of those parts of the student's brain with one lesson. You're touching on hands on learning, you're touching on auditory processing, you're touching on visual learning. You can include olfactory in that and get some kind of sense and smells going on.
Hmm.
You're able to teach and reach every student in the classroom with one lesson. So, multisensory instruction is not this is the listening center, this is the art center. It is all of those things going on all at one time. So, really, you're killing two birds with one stone. It's going to
Hmm.
save you tons of lesson planning time. And it's actually going to be better for your students because through multisensory learning, they're able to learn information faster and retain it longer than just with one modality.
Yeah, I love that. Can you list all of those again, just so we can have a clear understanding of which each one is? And then I know we'll go into more examples about how to use them all at the same time, because it wrapping my head around that seems crazy.
Yes. So we have auditory, which is hearing, visual, looking at something, tactile or kinesthetic, that's really getting hands on.
Hmm.
If we're going to incorporate a sense of smell, which is easier to do than you might think, and it's
Okay.
actually really fun for the students and it's fun for the teacher as well. And then some taste sometimes. I mean, we're not going to
Okay.
be, licking our textbook,
Yeah.
but we might do some cooking and we might be able to taste what we're going to cook if we're working on math. So that we'll get into that in a minute. I
Oh,
don't want
I
to get
love
too
that.
far ahead of myself.
I love that. So, what do you say now a teacher's all in, right? They're listening to this and they're like, "Great, I got this." What do you say would be like three ways that like teachers can use multisensory approaches like right now, like if they were about to go teach a lesson tomorrow?
Okay, so I was actually thinking about this earlier. Where I am, I'm in the southern part of the United States. It
Mhm.
is quite warm and quite sunny. So my biggest piece of advice for you is get your students outside, get some sidewalk chalk.
Mm.
Okay? You instead of doing your math work on a sheet of notebook paper with a pencil, you're going to go outside, you're going to get your sidewalk chalk and you're going to do it on the sidewalk. You're going to do it in the school parking lot. You are going to get the kids down, get them dirty with that chalk on their hands, get them when you write with chalk on concrete, it's texturized. So the students can
Mm.
actually feel them writing because of the bumpy texture of the concrete. So you've got that tactile part going on. You can smell the chalk, you can smell the breeze outside. All
Mhm.
of those things are going to help tie it into memory. Scent is the strongest sense tied to memory. So if
Mhm.
you can incorporate a scent or that olfactory sense, you're going to help them retain that information for longer and be able to recall it more easily.
Yeah. Totally. I'm already like my wheels are turning thinking, okay, great. Let's get sight words. Like practice writing the sight words. And now we're going to play a game. Find the word as like you're in an area. Maybe part of your playground is like a blacktop or a cement spot where you can put a space and say, okay, everybody's going to run and find and or the or at, and everybody's going to run to those spots. And now you've like totally made it a game and it's educational too. And same thing like with addition, you could totally do that as well. I love, love, love that. That's awesome.
Exactly. And so it's not just for younger students. I
Hmm.
feel like a lot of times when I'm talking to teachers, they're like, oh, well, I teach middle school. So let me tell you what I did with my middle schoolers.
Yeah.
We had task cards that had different context clues where they had to try to figure out the context of what was being said. And I want to say there might have been some figurative language. And
Okay.
I don't exactly remember what the lesson was, but I took those task cards. We went outside to the courtyard. I taped all of the task cards around the windows
Mm.
of the courtyard because it was in between, kind of like a peninsula. I'm sorry I talk with my hands. I hope
No, you're
everybody
totally fine.
okay with that. So on three sides, there are windows of this courtyard, and I taped the task cards onto the windows,
Mhm.
divided the students into pairs. They had their answer sheet. They had to go to each of the task cards, find them, write their answer down, and they were everywhere and they're running back and forth. And so, I mean, you got middle schoolers who've tons of energy and don't want to be sitting in their desk anyway. Get them outside, get them running
Yeah.
around. They're burning some of that energy off. Then they had to bring me their answer sheet. I would check and make sure they got them right. If they didn't, I would send them back. They'd have to figure it out again, try again. And it was such a fun lesson. And the students talked about it for months. They loved it.
Yeah, I love that. And it is, it's getting them out, getting them away from their desk, like just sitting and listening to a lecture, basically. Like now I get to go and be more interactive. I get to work with a buddy, even better, right? Like, 'cause there's so many positives in that, that
Mhm.
why not give it a shot and try it with any age group?
Exactly. And then you're also giving them the opportunity to practice communication and collaboration with
Mhm.
someone else and practice appropriate social skills and social interactions, which a lot of middle schoolers, are still
Yeah.
figuring out. So
Yeah.
they need a little extra practice in a structured, safe environment.
Oh, I love this. Oh my gosh. Like I said, my wheels are totally turning and I hope they are for you as well. Do you have a favorite multisensory support at all?
I do. And it's going to sound very random,
Okay.
but it's twofold. So you get some sandpaper,
Okay.
and this works if you're working on letters, if you're working on letter sounds, CVC words, writing numbers, basically
Mhm.
anything that you're going to write. You have your sandpaper, you're going to write with a cinnamon stick.
Oh.
Yeah. So first off, I mean, make sure none of your students have allergies. That's always a big thing if you're
Of
bringing in
course.
something food related. You're going to write those letters on the sandpaper with a cinnamon stick. As you're writing it, you're going to kind of be able to see the letter on that sandpaper because it's going to be like a lighter brown color because of the cinnamon,
Yeah.
but also you're releasing that smell. This
Yeah.
is a really fun one to do around holidays
Okay.
because cinnamon always makes me think of like the fall, winter,
Yeah.
all of those like fall and winter holidays.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, you're not just writing letters, you have a holiday celebration going on in the classroom that is multisensory. You've got them writing, they
Mm.
feel the texture of the sandpaper, they smell the cinnamon, they see the letter coming to life on that sandpaper. It is one of my very favorite things to do.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm already thinking, like, again, another thing where I'm like, we could do this for so many different things. And as you said, sandpaper, I was actually thinking of the, like, it's black paper, but if you like write on it, then rainbow
Yeah, like
comes out under
the scratch
the
paper
scratch
with the
paper, but like
yeah.
it's like, yeah, and there's like a rainbow underneath it. I'm like, I feel like that would be so fun too. If you're not as feeling crazy with sandpaper and cinnamon sticks just yet, like start there and then build
Oh,
up
yeah.
to that.
My daughter's going into 5th grade, she loves that scratch paper. So, I mean,
Yeah,
she still thinks it's cool, and I
yeah,
feel like, 5th grader, they're kinda hard to please. So, yeah, rainbow scratch paper is always a win.
yeah. I mean, but why not, right? What's better than regular paper or just a whiteboard? Like,
Exactly.
let's do something fun. Cool. So I know a lot of times I've worked with students who have a tendency to put things in their mouth or use tools not the way we thought they'd be using them. Do you have any suggestions for students that maybe don't use the materials as we thought they would, or maybe they throw the materials? Because I know people want to try to do these things, but maybe there's some barriers.
Right. So for students who put things in their mouths or students who are throwing things, a lot of times there is some sort of underlying sensory factor
Hmm.
going on there. And so typically we're not going to be able to really stop that behavior because it is a sensory need.
Hmm.
But what we want to do instead is replace it with something that's more acceptable. So
Hmm.
if they are putting something in their mouths and that's a sensory stimulation that they need, there are items that are made for chewing,
Hmm.
chewies.
Yeah.
If they can have a piece of gum, maybe they can chew a piece of gum. I've seen chewy necklaces like
Mhm.
the silicone beads or a
Yeah.
silicone stick.
Hmm.
Um, and same for throwing. A lot of times that can be a sensory thing. My biggest piece of advice would be to talk to your school's occupational therapist
Hmm.
and brainstorm with them about some things that will kind of still give that same sensory stimulation that this child is craving and needing,
Hmm.
but that will not be potentially harmful to
Yeah.
their health or to student safety.
Yeah, totally. I know at a previous school that I had worked at, there was even like a Lego wall. So they got some of that tactile and be able to build and grow, and I can make my name and I
Mhm.
can so that's another way that I'm just thinking about, like, this could be a different mode for them to learn through. So I love this. Again, I hate to say it, but again, my wheels are turning. Like I'm connecting the dots
I'm so
finally.
glad. That means I'm doing my job.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you have any other tips or tricks for a multisensory instruction that our teachers can implement really quickly or at least think about?
So one piece of advice that I will say is if you look up like multisensory instruction, you're probably going to see like things from the big teacher stores, like, oh, you need this, you need that. And while those are nice to have, you don't have to go out and spend a bunch of money getting items for multisensory instruction. A
Mhm.
lot of things I have, taken from my own house, bags of rice, get sand. I've gotten seashells. Sorry, that's a tongue twister.
Yeah.
Gotten seashells from the beach before that I've used
Mm-hmm.
as manipulatives, and that's really fun because then it's a beach party.
Mm-hmm.
You're using, I mean, you're still doing the same work you'd be doing without the seashells, but you introduce a seashell. Suddenly there's a theme and the students are really excited. Put on some Beach Boys music in the background. It's a whole party. So
Yeah.
there's lots of different ways that you can build your multisensory instruction kind of pantry or closet that
Mm-hmm.
you have items to choose from that don't require spending big bucks. Check Facebook Marketplace, check yard sales. You can find things. Just ask people, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for this for my classroom. Chances are either somebody has it or they're going to be willing to find it for you. So
Yeah.
don't go out and spend a whole bunch of money thinking, oh, I need all of this stuff. There are much cheaper ways to do this.
Yeah. All right. I feel like I need one more example of a lesson that you've done that you absolutely loved, or maybe your students really loved, that had that multisensory supports in it.
So another thing we did, and I did this even with my daughter when she was in first grade, when the pandemic really kicked in, we were shut down and learning from home was hard. This is something that I had done with my students, so I brought it home and did it with her. We made hopscotch
Mm.
on the driveway, drew out a hopscotch board and put down some numbers, got the bean bags, and she would toss the bean bags to the numbers, hop to the numbers, and then when she was in first grade, she would add them together or
Mm-hmm.
subtract them depending on what the numbers were.
Yeah.
Now that she's older, we multiply them together.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting a lot of that energy out, you're getting
Yeah.
movement, you're counting, you're seeing the numbers, you're hearing them. One other thing that I did
Mm-hmm.
that is probably my favorite ever that has ever happened in my classroom. I had a group of third grade students who were trying to learn to skip count by 3, and that was a struggle. Skip counting is hard. Memorizing math facts is very hard. And especially for our students with learning disabilities,
Mm-hmm.
because they have to rely so much on that working memory.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really have a lot of retrieval. So we actually learned to skip count by singing the Macarena
Oh.
with our 3 fact families. So we stood up, we had our hands up, we said 3, 6, 9, 12, so forth and so on. We got all the way
Yeah.
up to 36. I had the numbers written on the board. They could see the numbers as we were learning. They had the hand motion to go with it. They're saying the numbers as we're singing it.
Mm-hmm.
It was all of the senses going on at the same time.
Yeah.
That group learned to count by 3 in one session, in one 30-minute math block with me, went back to their general education classroom, and then taught all of their friends to skip count by 3 to the Macarena. And you'd walk through that school and you would see all these little 9-year-olds walking around doing the Macarena, going down the hallway counting by 3, and it was so much fun.
Oh my God.
That's a memory that I will treasure for forever. And it's because that multisensory learning, not only does it make it more fun, they want to learn it,
Mm-hmm.
but it helps make it stick in their brains.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned earlier, they learn faster and they retain it longer.
Yeah. And many of your examples don't include every single support, right? There's very different ones that you can use. Like you said, maybe taste is not used every single time.
Right.
But I know I've done a lesson before where we were working on fractions, but I had cookies that we had to break into different types of fractions. And my students were like, wait, what? I love this. I'm totally involved. And they're like, great. Now we got hands-on. You get to eat the cookies at the end.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing visuals. You're following along with what I'm doing. And it was so much fun. So yeah,
And
I
those are
hear
always
you.
the best lessons, when they're so excited about it that they forget learning is even happening. They're
Mhm.
just learning through enjoying the process. And that's honestly, as teachers, that's what we all want.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Do you have any blog posts or any other resources that is helpful for other teachers to read or listen to?
So I do have my blog. It's RebekahPoteaching.com. I just forgot the end of my blog.
I'll leave the link
I'll
below.
get it to
Don't
you.
worry.
It's Rebekah Poe Teaching. I have a blog post on there that talks about multisensory instruction. I'm
Great.
constantly sharing, probably annoying people with how much I share it on social media. Follow me there, Rebekah Poe Teaching. Um, I've posted some things on TikTok. I do have some conferences that I have done in the past that focus on multisensory instruction. I actually did one back in April for a school district in Maryland
Mhm.
that was all about multisensory instruction. I did that for them, and I did it for the National Down Syndrome Congress
Mm.
in Baltimore back in February. So if you are interested in having, a professional development session at your school, your organization related to multisensory learning, please get in touch. This is something that I am completely passionate about,
Yeah.
and I would love to put something together for you.
Awesome. Yeah, and I will leave all of your links below so that people can reach out to you on social media or on your blog, and find you there. So thank you so much, Rebekah, for being here. I really do appreciate it. If anybody has any questions, you are welcome to leave a comment below, and I will make sure either Rebekah or myself is able to respond to those. But yeah, anything else before we wrap this up?
Just make sure the point of it is having fun. Don't focus too much on, oh, I have to do this and I have to do that. Have fun with your students. That's the most, beneficial thing that you can do in a lesson is just keep it fun, keep it light, keep it entertaining.
Yeah, love that. Awesome. Thank you so much, Rebekah, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching today's video. If you're new here, make sure to click that like and subscribe button. It would mean so much to me. Click the bell to get notifications for when new videos get released or I go live. As always, leave a comment if you have any questions.